what I realized is this is the formula that I use, and really the formula almost every single person who lives an extraordinary life uses in some fashion or another. Okay. So it's really, really, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Inspired thought plus the right action equals extraordinary life. Inspired thought, right action, extraordinary life. Literally just two variables.
Sometimes Jeff and I like to do shows by ourselves. No guests, no one involved, because Jeff and I have some really interesting conversations when we're not doing the podcast. And one particular interesting conversation we had the other day was Jeff started telling me something that I just felt like everybody needs to hear this. So I stopped him. I said, stop talking about this, Jeff. I don't want to hear it. And I didn't want to hear it because I didn't actually want to hear it, but I wanted everybody else to hear it too.
Yeah, sure. You just more. You're a conversation with this guy. I don't want to deal with him.
So Jeff told me that there's a formula, like there's an actual formula, and it's not even a complicated formula, according to him. I'm hearing this for the first time on how to have an extraordinary life. Do I have that right, Jeff?
Yeah, close enough. Close enough.
All right. So tell us, what's the
really
formula?
It's going to take me several hours. It's not changing. No, so before I dig too deep into that, let me just tell you what I mean by extraordinary life. So we know what the end goal is first, right? So an extraordinary life is what we talk about on Last Life Ever all the time, right? It's about living life on your own terms, having freedom to live it however you want, right? Whatever's the best version of your life for yourself. That's what we're talking about. So for me, that means having the flexibility to have multiple residents, to travel frequently, and that sort of. But for someone else, it might be just having the flexibility to have a lake house on a lake in northern Michigan that they can go to every weekend, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what it is for them, but if you want to live an extraordinary life, it's going to be one that meet all 5 pillars of the Last Life Ever philosophy, right? So just a quick reminder for people that maybe are new to the show. The 5 pillars are discovering your life's purpose, cultivating extraordinary habit, finding financial freedom, crafting financial freedom, having extraordinary experiences. That's the travel stuff we're talking about, but it can also be like having children, whatever it is for them. And then the last one is giving back to your community or the world. So it needs to fit into all of those categories in order for it to work appropriately, right? So, and the way I define extraordinary is unique in and of itself. What I like to say, extraordinary in and of itself, an extraordinary word, right? So, extraordinary.
Wait. Extraordinary itself is an extraordinary word. So
right.
now you're okay. Go ahead.
Well, what I mean by that is it's really two different words: ordinary and extra, right? Extra space ordinary. So if you want to live an extraordinary life, it almost comes down to that simple. Like we could just get rid of the formula and say, just do a little bit extra and your life becomes extraordinary. Save a little bit of extra money, do a little bit of extra education, volunteer a little bit extra. It doesn't matter what, do something a little bit extra, travel a little bit more, and your life becomes extraordinary. Because by definition, anything above and beyond ordinary is extraordinary. So I love the word for that reason. And I wrote about that in my book, actually. So this is something I've been thinking about for a long time. But just earlier this year, right, like January of 2024, I was asked to speak at an event in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. And I was having a cocktail on the plane on the way there. And I had my whole speech written. And I had these note cards. And I thought, I'm going to write an entirely new speech on the flight there and see how it goes. That's literally what I thought. So I just thought, well, what can I tell people about life? Like, because I always, I give the same talk about my life, and my life is extraordinary. But I wanted to have something completely different for this group of high-level entrepreneurs. So I showed up with a brand new idea, and I call it the Extraordinary Life Formula. Now, this is based on stuff that I've borrowed liberally from lots of people. It's not, it's not something that It's not something that I came up with on my own, but what I realized is this is the formula that I use, and really the formula that almost every single person who lives an extraordinary life uses in some fashion or another. Or if they don't use it intentionally, they're using it inadvertently. Okay. So it's really, really, you ready for this? Inspired thought plus the right action equals extraordinary life. Inspired thought, right action, extraordinary life. Literally just two variables. So, Jillian.
Okay.
Let me tell you.
Keep going. I like that. Yes, please.
Okay. So, first is inspired thought. An inspired thought could be like, I want to be a real estate investor. It can be like, I want to go to Antarctica, or I want to start a charity. It doesn't matter what that inspired thought is. First thing in the first variable in the formula, you have to have ideas. You have to have ideas of where you're going. It can be done through goal setting. It can be done through journaling. It can be done through meditation or prayer. It doesn't matter, but you have to have an idea. You have to have that inspired thought. And that's why I think everyone has every great idea, every great business, every great experience, every great novel, every great movie, it doesn't matter. Everything ever produced by humankind, the light bulb, right, started out as a thought. So the question is, how do you have that inspired thought? How do you get that inspired thought? So I spent some time thinking about this, and I realized there's something that I do that most people don't do, that I borrowed from one of my mentors, actually a former guest here on Last Life Ever, Jamil Sayed, a 2-time, right? He told me
a
long time ago, he told me, if you want to come up with a new idea, if you want to have a new experience, you need to ask yourself these 2 questions regularly. And these are empowering questions that I ask myself at least once a week. Are you ready for this, Jillian? And I'm going to ask you these questions.
I am.
I want you to think about when the last time this applied to you, okay? So the first question is, when is the last time you did something for the first time?
When is the last time I did something for the first time? Well, I mean, honestly, very recently, you and I went on a very big trip where we did a lot of things for the first time.
Right. Right. But you can see how this question is really useful, right? When is the last time I did something for the first time? And it's a question for you. I mean, it's rhetorical in a sense because it doesn't matter what the answer is. The last time I did something for the first time might be, this is the first time I've ever recorded on this particular platform for Last Life Ever. That could be that simple, right? Or it could be, I drove a different way to my office today. Not true. I actually drove the same way to my office I normally do. But it could be anything that simple. It could be stopping at a different grocery store or talking to the person who serves you and asking them questions about their life, right?
Right.
You've known for a while, but you don't really know. It doesn't really matter what that thing is. It's about asking yourself that question. When is the last time I did something for the first time? It's
so funny you say that. And the other day, and I'm gonna remember that now because I've tried recently to ask everybody what their name is. Just cut, like who, if I'm interacting with somebody, ask them their name. But then there's been a couple of times where I've gotten like shy, didn't want to do it. And I'll give you a perfect example. Yesterday, I wanted to buy a new laptop. And so I was in Walmart because here in Puerto Rico, there's just not a lot of options of where you can buy laptops. So I'm standing there looking at these laptops, cursing under my breath because I had ordered a laptop from Amazon that was supposed to be here several days ago and didn't make it in time. So I had to run down to Walmart to try to buy a laptop, and I'm looking around and there's a guy there and he's looking at the laptops too. And he looks right at me and he goes, "Don't buy any of these." And I go, excuse me? And he goes, "Do not buy any of these. They're all terrible." And I go, "Oh, okay." He goes, "Listen." And then he starts giving me like a whole education on laptop and tells me, go to Sam's Club. Sam's Club has laptops and they're way better than this. Don't buy these. Go to Sam's Club. Sam's Club didn't have what I needed either, but I did leave. But I sat there looking at the guy going, I really should introduce myself and ask you for your name. You've been so kind to me. But instead I just ran away. And I'm 46 years old.
Yeah. No, I mean, and we're all gonna have that, right? Where we don't do something that pushes ourselves out of our comfort zone. I mean,
Yeah.
it's okay, right? But the point is, if we ask the question, right? When's the last time I
Yeah.
did something for the first time? It opens us up. And these questions, by the way, they're designed to wake us up from something called the Iago trance. Have you ever heard of the Iago trance?
No, this is great. Go
So
on.
Iago is a character in Hamlet, and he kind of talks Hamlet into doing a lot of really stupid things in Hamlet. But
Right.
in psychology, the Iago trance, so far as I understand it, it's like when you brush your teeth and you put water on your toothpaste and you put your toothbrush in your mouth and you do that so many times that you don't really think about it. Like if I ask you right now, did you brush your teeth? You're going to say yes. If I ask you, did you put water on your toothbrush? You're going to say yes. But do you really remember doing it? And the answer is probably not, because you're in that
Right.
trance-like state and it's very useful, right? Like we shouldn't have to make a decision about which direction to hold our toothbrush every day. Like we should just do it the
Right.
same way. We've learned a process that works, and our brain defaults to just going through those motions and not paying attention. It frees up space to focus on more important things, like especially like, you know, which way you when you're starting a fire as a cave person, you want to be paying attention to the lions that are circling, right? You don't want to be paying attention to how you stack firewood, right? So it is a very useful survival trait that we have, and it's very useful to get us through a lot of parts of life. But and I've been talking about this for a long time, even before I knew what it was. I mean, even my law school graduation speech, I talked about the movie Click with Adam Sandler, where he gets a remote control from this guy named Morty, who and the remote control allows him to fast forward through the boring parts of life. And pretty soon he wakes up and he's an old guy and he doesn't know what happened to his life, right? That's what we all do in real life. We drive to work the same route. We don't pay attention, and all of a sudden we're at work. We go through motions at work. We answer the same phone calls. We do the same thing over and over again. Doesn't matter what kind of work we do. It doesn't matter what kind of stuff we do. It wasn't even happening to me, giving the same dang speech every time I got invited to talk somewhere, right? I don't remember one speech from the next. I couldn't tell you what I said to someone in Oklahoma versus someone in Chattanooga, right? Like, I don't know. But but when I wrote the new speech to talk about, I remember that very clearly, right? Because I was doing something different. And that means I woke up from that trance and I was paying attention. So these questions are designed to wake you up, because the thing is, opportunity does. Everyone always says opportunity knocks, but it doesn't. Opportunity is just us seeing it that makes opportunity presented, right? So we have to wake ourselves up by asking the two empowering questions. The first one, when is the last time you did something for the first time? And then the parallel question is, what can you do today? What can you do this week? It doesn't matter. Like, you can pick a time frame. What can you do right now for the first time? And it can be something small. Like I said, drive a different way to work. Then you might say, well, what possible inspired thought am I going to have from driving a different way from work? But the thing is, if you're a real estate investor, like a lot of our audience, driving a different way might mean seeing a new neighborhood you didn't know before. It might mean seeing a trend in development that you didn't know was there. It might mean seeing a vacant property that you wouldn't have otherwise seen. Walk a different route. Go to a different beach. I know you and your husband like to walk on the beach every morning. Well, pick a different beach once in a while. You know what I mean? You might meet a new person at the new beach that you wouldn't otherwise meet, and that person might have a conversation with you that inspires and inspired. You might learn something that you didn't otherwise know, or you might see a property there and decide to start your tiki bar that you and I wanted. Right? I know that happened by doing those new things. And like I said, the difference could be very small, but it forces you to be paying attention. You drive a different way to work, you have to think about, do I turn here or do I go straight? Right? You have to actually make a decision instead of just go through the motion. Just that very action of making a decision wakes you up. So that's step one. Get your inspired thought. It could be like, if you've never been to a real estate meetup, you could go to a real estate meetup. Or you've never been to a networking meetup, you go to a networking meetup and you hear about a new business opportunity. You learn what someone else is doing, and now you have an inspired thought. I want to be a real estate investor, right? Let's just say that's what you're inspired. So the second part of the formula, to take the right action. No,
Okay.
How do you know for sure that there are people that go to real estate meetups that have the inspired thought to be a real estate investor? And I know you know this too, Jillian. Like people that go to that and they say, I want to be a real estate investor. And they go home all excited about how they want to be a real estate investor. They pick out a name for their company. They register a domain, order business cards, they hire an attorney, they create an LLC. And 2 years later, they have an LLC and a website. They're
Okay.
still not a real estate investor, right?
Right.
They didn't
Right.
take the right action. Like there's nothing wrong with having an LLC and a website and hiring an attorney. All those things have a place. But if you want to be a real estate investor, you gotta buy real estate, right? So getting education is useful, like can continue to do that. But like at some point you have to take that right step of buying a piece of property somewhere. Otherwise you're never gonna be a real. It's really that simple. So the question, once you have an inspired thought, how do you know what the right action is? Because I'm not picking on the person that 2-3 years into their real estate investing career, right? But hasn't actually bought anything. Because a lot of people go through it. I mean, I went through it. It took me years of thinking about real estate before I did it. And there's value in that, but I wasn't taking the right action. And so the question is, how do you figure out what that right action is? How do you know what the right step is? And
Right.
that's a bit trickier. There's no exact formula for it, but there's a process. And the process goes like ask good questions. Ask what, where, when, and why question. So, you know, if I were thinking about my example of the real estate investor, the questions that you would ask is like, well, first, why do I want to be a real? Because you want to make sure you're even working on the right inspired thought first, right? So why do I want to be a real estate investor? What is it that appeals to me about it? Like start niching down your understanding of what your goal is. Because the overarching goal of being a real estate investor is great, but why? How much time do you want to devote to it? How much work is it going to be? Like you have to get that information and you do have to niche it down, but you also have to take action, right? So it's the right action. And what I think about when I talk about taking action is, I don't know for sure. I always attribute this quote to Richard Branson because I swear I read it in one of his books somewhere, but I've never been able to find it. So a quote that may or may not be from Sir Richard Branson is, the difference between successful people and those who never succeed is successful people take action without all of the possible information. I think that's important because without any information, right? You have to have some information. You do have to ask the right questions, get the right education, that kind of stuff. But you also have to take action without having every possible piece of information. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that, right? They get into that analysis prep and they don't actually take action. But that is actually the whole formula, Jillian. Inspired thought plus right action. Wake up from the Iago trance, ask yourself the empowering question, then ask the what, where, why question to figure out what you should be doing, and then go. And that's that little bit extra you have to do to live the extraordinary life.
And so then you can and this is how you get out of your comfort zone and start doing things that are more complicated, right? Like, so for example, I'll do anything for the most part. Well, maybe that's not true.
I don't know. I've seen you sing karaoke, so I'm terrified of that. So if you've done that, you can probably do anything.
Well, but like my husband, like it was so funny because you were talking about one of the your things on your life list. Things you want to do is ride in a helicopter. You couldn't pay my husband to get in a helicopter.
Yeah, and it was amazing, right? Like I did in Maui, had a great time, but it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, it's okay not to do something because you're afraid of it if there's really no upside. Like sometimes it doesn't matter, right? But you can't live your life in a. I mean, you can live your life never going on a helicopter. It's fine, right? I personally like to lean into that, right? Like if there's something I don't like, I try to do it. I mean, I was a little scared to be on a helicopter. Honestly, it's a weird experience. There's no wing, and you think, what if the machine died? What happened? And they hover and they do weird floaty things and they drop in a way that planes don't do, right? So, but I wanted to do it, so I did it. But if you have no desire to do it, really no point in like forcing yourself to face a fear just to face. Well, it looks like Jillian dropped off here, but you know what? We were wrapping up anyway. So all I'm going to say right now is I hope that you figure out a way to live that extraordinary life and that you get to have an amazing and exciting life like Jillian and I have. We've both had exciting lives. And if you want more information about how to live an extraordinary life, all you really need to do is um, you need to jump in there and you need to involve yourself in our Facebook group. You need to so the Last Life Ever private group on Facebook, or reach out to Jillian or I about our mastermind, Extraordinary Life Mastermind, which is something that we're really proud of, where we have a small group of individuals that work together to live the best version of their lives. We all work together to try to help each other, to inspire each other. We ask each other these questions, but we also hold each other accountable for our acts. Jillian, I was just telling everyone about the mastermind while you were gone there for a second. I was saying, like, if you want to learn more about living an extraordinary life, I think joining the Extraordinary Life Mastermind might be a really good option for you.
Yeah, it's so funny because in relation to this conversation, so we do these accountability groups in the mastermind, and there's smaller groups within the mastermind where we hold each other accountable for whatever our goals are. Very effective. And we have one gentleman who came the other day, and he's trying to literally change his whole entire, I wouldn't say he's trying to change his career. He's trying to move his career in a different trajectory. And there's a lot of unknown, and that's not the way I've done it before around it. So he's a little fearful. And to that end about, buying real estate, and you're not a real estate investor until you buy something. He articulated that, I don't know if I can get the capital for this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a deal. It's just so scary. I don't know if I'm going to make a mistake. And
we're talking about a guy who's literally done billions of dollars in real estate trends.
Yeah, right.
I'm afraid to buy a duplex, right? Like I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's literally like that, right? Like, because he hasn't ever done it, but in, to the point of this particular discussion and the advantage of the mastermind, he is being forced to ask the right questions so that he can take the right action going forward. Like, he's not going to be stuck where he was before. He's doing that little bit extra right now, getting the right education, getting the right information so that he can take action. And we're helping.
That's right. That's right.
It's not us helping.
Yeah.
Right? The group itself helps each other, which is the best part of it.
It really is. It really is. But the thing is that we talked about when we were discussing this was, what I shared with him was that, look, I get what you're saying. You don't want to make the wrong move. You don't want to do the wrong thing. And he admitted that a lot of it had to do more with his mindset and getting around, like, the mindset of being able to actually do this. That's fine. You can overcome that. We can work on that. But there's a little bit of healthiness, right, in not moving so quickly, like so impulsively, if you will.
Right.
Like, and that goes for life in general, not just investing in real estate. But, one of the things I shared with them is the best real estate deals I've ever done personally by myself with my own money, no partners or anything, were always the ones where I took an extremely long time to pinpoint exactly the property that I wanted and acted on that. And when I found the property, I knew it right away. It wasn't, I didn't hesitate to act when I found the perfect property, but it might have taken me 6 months to find that property.
Right.
Yeah.
But think about this. So what you're saying is the best people did follow the Extraordinary Life formula. You had an inspired thought. I want to do this particular type of real estate. Then you asked a whole bunch of questions and got the answers to exactly what you need. And then when opportunity presented itself, you saw it because you were ready, right?
Right.
We're in place to take that right action, which was to jump on that deal right away.
Exactly.
So that actually kind of proves the whole point, right? Like this formula, whether you know you're using it or not, is the difference between living an ordinary life and an extraordinary life. And we both live extraordinary life. Like we just spent a month in Asia, for crying out loud. Like,
I
like
know.
we both separately made decisions to move to a Caribbean island. Like these are like things that normal, ordinary people aren't doing, right?
Right.
And I'm not
Right.
saying we're perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but like I'm living my life like it's my last life ever, and so are you. And we're
Yeah.
recognizing this is our one chance to make a difference in the world, and to make a difference in our families, and to make a difference in our own lives. And we have to take it. And that's why I think everyone needs this formula. And that's why I'm so super happy that you decided you wanted to share it here on the.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much. I really hope all of you out there found great value in this. I know I did, and I'm here. So I'm hoping that just at least one of you will take this and go out and try something new. Remember the formula and remember to just have some inspired thought. Take that
Yeah.
action, right?
And
Ask the right
also,
question.
feel free to put in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube, or maybe put a post in our Facebook group. What's the thing that you're gonna do today for the first time? Like, I really love to hear that. Like, throw it up in the Facebook group, or just ask your friend. Tell your friend. It doesn't even matter if you tell us. Like get out there, share with people what new thing you're gonna try. Oh, and Jillian, is there anything you want to remind them?
I do. Remember to live the best version of life ever. Bye.